What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome to Fresh Comic Stories. Guys, this is the channel that we cover different kinds of comic book stories. Now, guys, today we're going to jump back over to Marvel and we're going to cover the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Annual #1. Now, there are two reasons why we're covering this book. The first is because one of my subscribers asked me to cover this storyline for them. And the second reason is because this book is also holding the origin of Sandman, one of Spider-Man's long-term villains. So guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video. And if you do, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories like this in the near future. But let's go ahead and dive into the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Annual #1. Now, early in the story, you have the writer Peter David quickly tell us that in the early days of Sandman's life, he went by his legal name, William Baker. We also learned that he lived with his mother and his father is not around. We just learned for right now that his dad is apparently just bolted out of their lives, and that is it. And with his father being gone, his mother had to work long hours to make ends meet for her and William. Now, one day she was able to take him to the beach and he was able to build a sandcastle. But when he ran back to his mother to show her what he made, she drank herself to sleep. And this is establishing that his mother was an alcoholic. And by the time she woke up and he was able to show her what he made, of course, it started to rain and it washed the sandcastle away. And ever since that day, he had a goal in mind to make something that would last forever and always grabs someone's attention. And this leads into him making different kinds of art projects out of sand. And of course, he gets praises from his teacher, Miss Flint. And sadly, it leads to him developing a crush on her and hoping that he has a chance with her. Now, William Baker, aka Sandman, was probably in middle school, maybe a tad bit younger. But he still believed that he had a shot with dating her. But this is where he learns that she is engaged. And the man she's engaged to is a stockbroker. And to William Baker, he assumed that women only want a man who has money. And so this leads into him developing the mindset that he has to get a ton of money to keep a woman around in his life. This is where we get introduced to a guy named Vic. Now, Vic was, of course, the school bully, and we see him begin to pick on William. And this leads to Vic just beginning to beat up on William and break all of the different projects that William made in the classroom. And so you have William go back home to his mother, where she cleans him up. But she tells William that she wishes his father had stayed around so he could have taught him how to be a man and fight. And so this leads to another idea popping up in William's head, where he starts to believe that he must show the world that he can defend for himself. And so, of course, the next couple of days, a couple of things happened. The first thing was that William went back to the beach, where again he built another sandcastle. Except this time he realized how sand is always changing forms. And this led into him adapting that thought into his fighting skills. And so when he goes to school again and deals with Vic and his friends, while the two sides are fighting against each other, you have William being able to beat down on Vic and his friends. Every time where Vic or one of Vic's friends had William in their grasp, he was able to escape. And this is him adapting the idea how you can't truly hold on to sand. Sand is always changing forms, and the only time you can really hold on to sand is if you have it trapped inside a case. Besides that, sand can be a solid figure and shift into a liquid as well. And when he laid a punch, he was like sand when it is solid. But when he needs to invade an attack, he becomes like sand in its liquid form. he was able to adapt these things into his fighting skills. This leads to him basically becoming the school bully himself. And we see that he was able to make Vic become a follower. And so now Vic and him are friends, and they are working together at running the school. They literally become a group of kids who would bully people from middle school all the way up to high school. Now this does lead into William becoming a football star, where he is out there winning games left and right and also getting a girlfriend. And so this does kind of look like the only bright moment in William's life, until one night when William and his girlfriend Marcy are at a motel and William gets a visit by Vic. This is where we learn that Vic, who again is a high school student, somehow got involved with the mob of all groups, where of course he now has an outrageous gambling debt, and the mob wants him to pay back that money or they will kill him. And this leads to William's life running into another issue, because Vic betted that the next game William plays in, William will play horrible and the team will lose. If this happens, well, the debt goes away. At first, you have William tell Vic no, but Vic talks about how he is the only thing his mother has left in this world. And so you have William feel bad for Vic and goes out there and plays horrible. Except after playing only one bad game, the coach of the team hated to see William play like that and kicked him off the team. And with William being kicked off the team, it made William upset that he beat down on his coach with his own football helmet. And with him being kicked off the team, it led to William and Vic just becoming full-time thugs, always trying to find different ways to get money. But of course, the one night where everything seems to be going smooth for them, cops show up and only arrest William while Vic got away. And so of course, William goes straight to prison. This leads into William finally meeting the one person in his life he always wondered what happened to: his father, Floyd Baker. Now Floyd has no idea that the man standing in front of him is his own son. You don't even have William tell Floyd that, hey, I am your son, the one you left behind. Instead, you have William tell him that his name is Flint Marko, where of course is the name that everyone knows the Sandman by, because that was the name that was told to us back in the early days of Amazing Spider-Man. Now we know it is a made-up name. Flint is coming from his teacher, Miss Flint, and Marko coming from her talking about how hitting the mark in life. But again, he does not tell his father that his name is William Baker. Instead, he tells him, my name is Flint Marko. This led into him always wanting the ability to spend time with his father in prison. And so every time he got out of jail, he would meet up with Vic and his girlfriend Marcy, and they would always try to run some form of scheme. But somehow he would be the only one being caught and sent back to prison. Except the last time he went back to jail, his father was not there because he was let out on parole. And with his father being out on parole, you had William Baker, now going by Flint Marko, escape from prison, hoping to find his father somewhere in the city. And this, of course, led into him running into a test site where a nuclear reactor was being tested on, and that made him into the Sandman we know him as today. Where, of course, with him being the Sandman now, he wanted to go find his close friend Vic, his girl Marcy, and also his father Floyd. The problem is that when he goes to find Vic and Marcy, he finds out that every time he was in prison, Marcy was cheating on him behind his back with Vic. And so this is another low blow for Flint Marko in his life. But this leads into Flint Marko's first time fighting against Spider-Man. Now, when they fought, it seemed like Spider-Man was actually able to beat Sandman. But you have Sandman tell us no. That Sandman wanted to be captured so he would end up right back in prison along with his father, who was also sent back to prison as well. Where, of course, it does lead into Sandman trying to use his new powers to break the both of them out of prison so they can live a normal life together. This leads up to the moment where we see Flint Marko and his father Floyd Baker out at a carnival. And this seems like this is going to be the moment where Flint Marko finally tells his father that, hey, I know we've been knowing each other for a while now, but I am actually your son, really. Remember that Floyd left Flint Marko's life when he was young, and so he does not know what his own son even looks like. The problem is that as soon as Flint is about to tell him everything, you have Spider-Man appear to take him back to prison. Remember, this story takes place all in the past, but since Flint Marko broke out of prison and since he fought Spider-Man before, when Peter Parker saw him, he was like, oh, you should be in prison still. This, of course, leads to another battle with Spider-Man. But this battle is short-lived, mainly because while they are fighting against each other, Flint Marko loses it and throws a random object to hit Spider-Man. Except behind Spider-Man is Floyd Baker. And so this leads to, of course, Spider-Man dodging the attack, but the object is still flying towards Floyd Baker now. And it does end up looking like Flint Marko just killed his own father. But only for us to find out that he did not kill his father because Spider-Man was able to shoot webs to cover up Floyd Baker. But with that happening, the battle does end with Sandman disappearing and being unable to tell Floyd Baker the truth about him being his son. And this is how the story ends. And honestly, this was an okay story. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up today's video. So please leave me a like down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories like this in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read? Well, please let me know in the comments below because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here and I will see you on the next comic book video. Later, guys.